Cigars and Price for Monday, February 16th, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365 coming to you from the Nation Network studio here at the historic Wall Center. Matt Cigars alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rocherson hitting switches, conducting things on this Family Day 2026. And thank you for abandoning your family in Whistler to come join the program.
It's okay. New snow, too. So it was particular sacrifice.
I know.
Yeah.
New hat as well.
Well, that's a hat, non-work hat. Keep a few for non-work purposes.
Camo, huh?
Whistler. Is a comment there?
Are
we doing fashion?
I just didn't think you a camo guy. Hope everybody had a marvelous weekend taking in all the action from Milan. We will start with our Yellow Dog poll question brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. What would you prefer in the men's hockey tournament? The Canada-USA final that we've all been pointing towards, or the USA upset before the final? Vote. Cigars and Price, the X and YouTube channels. And we bring this to the fore because, well, Canada routes through first the winner of the Czech and Denmark game tomorrow. Then presumably Slovakia or Finland after they reseed following the quarterfinals. I should say actually Finland because they're the 4 seed. So it would be Canada, Finland, USA, Slovakia if the seeds all hold. But if Sweden gets through Latvia, and they should get through Latvia, then you're looking at a heavyweight quarterfinal here with Sweden versus the United States. I mean, that's more than a banana peel, if I can steal the soccer expression for the U.S. in the quarterfinals.
Well, yeah, and the Swedes started slowly, but they've been looking better and better, and providing they get some goaltending, which hasn't really been great for them so far, yeah, they could absolutely go toe-to-toe with the Americans. And you know, that takes the biggest impediment. I think playing the sport of hockey right now, there's nobody that's going to be able to beat the Canadian side, but you bring in the rough and tumble of the United States to mix in, I think you have a couple of question marks at the very least. So, I mean, you don't want to be overconfident, Matt, but if somebody else can do the dirty deed for the Canadians and beat the Americans, I don't know that you'd necessarily turn that opportunity down.
I would, for 2 reasons. Number one, if you're a competitor, you want to beat the best. The USA is...
They clearly wouldn't be the best,
Clearly, well, come on. You play that game 10 times. I know single elimination. We love the drama of single elimination, but the United States is clearly the number 2 hockey-playing nation on planet Earth right now. In fact, on the women's side, they look like a clear number 1. More on that.
I mean, if it's a theft, I agree with you. If they outplay the other team, but the other team wins it, yeah, that would feel a little bit weird. I think there's a possibility that if all goes well for Sweden, they can just go toe-to-toe with them.
Fair enough. The other thing, though, and look, the 2010 and 2014 gold medal games are not the best comparison because the 2014 game was just devoid of excitement and entertainment against Sweden. It's so much sweeter if we beat the USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sweden's our friend, our ally.
If you can tell me that...
The U.S. not as much anymore.
If you can tell me that we beat them, sure, let's face the United States.
Yeah.
But...
I think we beat them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't think Sydney lets us loose. And I'm watching how these guys are playing. That Crosby line, which has been sensational with Stone and Marner. McDavid with Celebrini. Come on.
I don't know whose stats were I looked at today. It was either Jay Fresh or
I mean, I suppose we could
Or
get
Dom's
goalie,
model.
but Connor Hellebuck hasn't ever played well in a big game.
I love the fact that the Canadian side, the Canadian forwards, are scoring in two very different ways. There is the fast attack scoring rush chances of McDavid and Celebrini's line, or McKinnon's line if he's separated from them.
Well, and
And then the other two lines are leading the tournament in cycle scoring.
possession, half court.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's that lethal power play that we've been talking about, whether it's Celebrini or Reinhardt.
So if
in
you're
the
an
bumper.
opposition team, you can't scout and say, hey, we just need to play like this and shut down the way Canada scores. There's no way Canada scores. Canada scores in all ways.
If you're the advanced scout, you basically turn on the film and say, boys, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like the Swiss World Junior coach.
There is,
Remember?
There is no weakness here in the Canadian offensive attack. Now, defensively, as we know, this isn't the greatest collection of defensemen and goaltenders Canada's ever sent to an international best on best.
And we haven't seen them challenged to great degrees here. So that's the thing, is what does Canada look like with particularly the American attack bearing down on the defense and the goaltenders?
I got to say, though, watching the U.S. games,
They don't look formidable.
no.
No.
I mean, I would have expected a whole lot more given the caliber of player who's on that
Well,
team.
Matt, like, you telling me the Canadian side can't outdo Brock Nelson? Like, is that who the Canadians are worried about here? Like,
Well, in fairness, Brock Nelson is 113 years old.
he's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. But he's been amongst their better stories at this tournament so far. I think the Canadians can take care of Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson is so old, it looked like he made the initial run from Athens to Marathon.
He was there. Granted, he was younger at the time, but he was there.
With the fire from Mount Olympus.
I saw some shots of JT Miller the other day. Some still shots. It looks like
Not exactly having a banger either.
he looks like he's been enjoying a risotto. I don't know that he's
We did a whole bit on risotto Friday. Was it Friday?
yeah. I don't know that he's winning the fitness test any longer, like Rick Tocchet used to say.
Remember when he came back from his leave last year? He got asked, if you've been skating in game, I keep myself in shape. Okay, Mike, break the tie. I'm for the Canada-USA final. Blake wants to see them upset before the final. What says you?
I want to beat the U.S.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So do I.
Especially the U.S.
Again,
right now.
If you guarantee
Come
me that they
on.
beat them, sure,
We've
let's
never been
face them.
further apart. I mean, not since the War of 1812 have we had cooler relations with the United States than right now. And remember, Blake, we got to get this one because via that trade deal with China, they're going to take away ice hockey.
Oh, this is the last time we see ice hockey. Yeah, it's over.
China, through the stroke of a pen, is just going to eliminate the sport of ice hockey. So, I mean, we're sitting here talking about a Canucks rebuild. Why bother? China's just going to wipe the sport off the face of the planet.
But he said
I heard it.
He said
from
in
good
Canada. Does that mean the Canucks would be able to play road games at the very least? A lot of questions.
Many, many questions about China's ability to eliminate a sport from our country after a trade deal.
Which, as he said, is sad. I think they're going to be okay.
I think ice hockey is going to survive this trade deal.
What kind of hockey?
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
Well, he didn't mention field hockey.
He did not.
Field hockey, I'm sure, will just continue carrying on.
He didn't get into that. Yellow Dog has got into the porter quite a bit.
It's porter time of year.
To the point where they are mixing it up in a mix pack. In fact, it's bringing together two playful takes on the classic style. Great for sipping, sharing, changing minds about what dark beer can really be. The Shake a Paw smoked porter, that's roasted malt, little hint of smoke. Then the Chew Toy coconut porter, got some chocolate, got some coffee, toasted coconut for the soft, indulgent finish. Together, they're bold without being heavy adventurous without being serious. Proof that porters can have a little fun too. Love a good porter.
Our top story brought to you by Pacific Blue Cross. Emotion production. Elias answers the bell for Sweden. Finally. The Canucks center scores twice, including the game-winning goal for the Swedes versus Slovakia on Saturday. Look at the face there, Blake. There's that fire, passion, and emotion we've been waiting on. It was 2 goals on 2 shots for Pettersson, just 11:15 in ice time, although he was used on the power play finally. And he centered a line, the doghouse duo of Philip Forsberg and Marcus Johansson, as the former was finally promoted by head coach Sam Hallam. And Johansson, who had been a scratch, also got some good real estate. And here you can see the chance contribution, courtesy of Dmitry Filipovich. I mean, Elias still just 10th among Swedish forwards for the tournament. But again, short tournament, what have you done for me lately? Elias was outstanding in the third period for the Swedes.
At practice today, he had Raquel and Forsberg once again.
Ah, I thought, so Raquel instead of Johansson.
Yeah.
We have that graphic, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. Can you bring that up? Yes. Raquel on the right, Forsberg on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Johansson dropped down to the fourth line, and Jesper Bratt is occupying his Hallam's doghouse.
Which has people in Sweden absolutely infuriated that the speed of Jesper Bratt, and Jesper Bratt, when he's on the ice, you know it. He's one of the rare burners left in the NHL that is noticeable. Like everybody's so damn fast. Demonstrably faster than everybody else.
Yep. So Sweden nearly wins its group. It took a penalty late, the Slovaks score, to maintain that advantage on goal differential. But getting back to Elias, the joy looked back, Blake.
Yeah.
A friend mentioned to us there was a big smile on his face after he had to extricate himself from the Finnish bench earlier in the tournament, had to fight his way off. That finally he looks like there's some emotion coursing through him, and it's positive emotion. Not to mention the fire we just saw from after he scored the goal. The Swedes face Latvia tomorrow, with the winner taking on the United States on Wednesday. And here's a look at the routing. So tomorrow you got Germany, France, Switzerland, Italy, Czechs, Denmark. Canada plays the winner there, and Sweden, Latvia. Then your quarterfinals are set after tomorrow. And then we reseed. So Canada 1, United States 2, Slovakia 3, Finland 4. If all the seeds hold, Canada, Finland, USA, Slovakia in the semis. But if Sweden wins, then they immediately become the lowest, barring any other upsets below them. Mm-hmm. If the Swedes were to get through, though, the United States, then they suddenly would become the lowest remaining seed, and then you have Canada, Sweden, and Slovakia, Finland. Again, that's if seeds hold. It's complicated. We'll know more after tomorrow's games. And here's a look at the Canucks scoring through the preliminary round of the men's ice hockey tournament in Milan, courtesy of our friends.
I need a second with that one. It's not loading properly.
Philip Hronek leads all Canucks scorers with 3 points. Elias has 2. It's okay, Mike. Don't worry.
And Pettersson, again, robbed of a empty net assist early in the tournament.
That's right. Gave it to him and then called it off.
Yeah.
Scoring change.
So that trophy might have been in his grasp.
I'm not sure there's a trophy.
No, somebody made a trophy.
Canucks Army making a trophy?
Yeah, maybe.
Quadrelli making a trophy?
Maybe.
Is he back from Disneyland yet?
I think it might be plated. I don't think it's solid gold, but we'll try to get that trophy.
It's on delivery with the Abbey rings, right?
Yes. Jostens threw something together for us.
Yeah, exactly. Hurry, quick, design the rings. How about just the logo? Sounds good. Just get them here quick.
Forgot about some things. Had to.
What's up with the travel insurance, Pacific Blue Cross? If you're traveling,
you know
need
what's
insurance.
up. You know what's up. It's just what you do. It's part of the travel plans. Should be part of your travel plans at Pacific Blue Cross. And right now, Pacific Blue Cross is your friend because they want to send you on a trip, the ultimate Canucks road trip. That's flights, that's hotel, that's lower bowl tickets. No purchase necessary. Contest ends February 28th, which, can you believe it, folks, is 12 days away.
Yeah.
Month is flying by. Enter now at pacificbluecross.ca/Canucks.
Well, it's a short month to begin with.
Well, but that shouldn't have gone into my calculus just yet. We haven't passed 28.
Canada beats France 10-2 yesterday, secures first place overall after the preliminary round. Josh Morrissey did not play this game. His tournament is not over, though, Canadian hockey officials say. Jordan Binnington started in goal. More on that in a second. Here's how Coach Cooper lined them up. And it did go to some changes in game, including Suzuki and McKinnon and who should play center and who should play right wing. A reminder, line combinations throughout the tournament updated daily. Check out the DFO's line combination page, dailyfaceoff.com/teams. Canada will face the winner of the Czech-Denmark game tomorrow. We mentioned that. And there you can see we'll get to the other quarterfinals here. Talk to me. Jordan Binnington is his man. You have been more a Jordan Binnington skeptic and critic than I. What says you?
I still am, and I don't know that any questions get answered for a couple of games still.
Well, I mean, the Czechs were game in the opener, Blake. They
Were
could
they?
be, well, I mean,
I don't know.
it's a 2-goal margin after 2 periods.
That's still a healthy lead.
In this tournament, I understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean, as you talked about, the shots disparity was not extreme against the Czechs. The scoring chances was.
Yeah, they were kept to the outside for the most part. I don't know that they necessarily instilled fear in my heart for Binnington. Regarding the Binnington question, I'm not worried about that, and I'm almost worried that he can sort of sleepwalk through the next 60 minutes, and then, of course, by virtue of that, we'll get the call for the semi, and then you get the risk of being punched in the mouth. Didn't like the second French goal. Like I understand those are hard games to play because the chances you face are few and far between. But that's a 38-year-old with a slap shot just over the line. I mean, I don't love that goal.
Can we all agree it'll be a quick hook if he doesn't look like he has it early? Or do you think Cooper is so wedded to Binnington?
Yes.
You think that?
Yes. Yeah, like if you're talking 3 goals in the first,
you ain't
maybe.
got time to bleed, Coop.
I think 3 goals in the first, maybe. But if it's 2 goals in the first 8 minutes, no, I don't think he's pulling them.
Okay, and then let me just throw this at you. It don't matter. They'll outscore their mistakes.
And if that's the case, if he lets in 2 goals in the first 8 minutes, but it's 4-2 at that point, yeah, I think he does just ride him.
Flipping over to women's hockey, and the Canadian semifinal has just begun against the Swiss. Captain Marie-Philippe Poulin, a surprise participant in Canada's quarterfinal victory over Germany. 24 hours earlier, she was musing about her tournament might well be over, but she played. She played.
Mm-hmm.
The other developments.
She wasn't terribly mobile, by the way. Like she didn't
I
look like
was
she was in
awfully
pain.
surprised. I was awfully surprised. You didn't need her to beat Germany. I was awfully surprised they even risked it at all.
Me too.
Coach said all the right things about dialing her back and this, that, and the other thing. I was just like, why? It's unnecessary. Give her a couple extra days of pure rest.
But
She didn't look herself.
her goal is the reason why you play her regardless going forward, because she's so good around the net. Her touch, her read of the play is so good.
Well,
she just glides through the slot and gets a stick on it and directs it in. I mean,
one of the things I didn't realize last week when you were talking about maybe even sitting her in the semi if need be, and I was a little skeptical of that to begin with, but this Canadian women's team is not like previous Canadian women's teams.
they haven't shown the ability to score.
Blake, could you argue we're closer to the bronze medalists than we are to the United States in this tournament?
I think we're equidistant,
That's
which is
a
still
precipitous fall.
Yeah, even being equidistant is a condemnation.
Now, Vancouver Golden Knights goalie Emrance Maschmeyer got the start against Germany. She'd started the opener, but Canada had gone with Desbiens, the other goaltender, after the opener until Desbiens was pulled against the United States when we were getting blitzed. Who's starting here today? Have you seen that?
I have not
Okay,
seen
let's
that.
see if Maschmeyer is the starter here today, because this is, of course, the telltale here. You can understand if the Canadian coach thought, okay, well, Germany, we can play either goaltender and get through the quarters there. But come the semis, you were absolutely going with the goaltender, to quote Alain Vigneault, who gives me the best chance to win.
Hockey Canada released a weird setup on that, but it looks like it's Desbiens, my guess.
And here's the thing. There is the distinct possibility that Canada could get goalied in this game, because the Swiss netminder, Andrea Brandley, was absolutely extraordinary against the Finns in their upset win in the quarterfinals. She stopped all 40 Finnish shots, including some absolute grade A's in the final minute with the Finnish goaltender on the bench. Like, we're talking point-blank chances. And this Brandley stepped up and made those saves to preserve a 1-0 Swiss victory in the quarters.
Brandley versus Desbiens, yeah.
It's Desbiens. Yeah. Okay. So game's just started. We'll see what's going on there. But this is, as I think you can argue, Blake, this is as threatening an opponent for Canada in a semifinal of women's Olympic hockey in either a long time or ever. I've covered it a little bit in 2010. You've followed it and covered it a little more extensively than I. But we knew the distance between Canada, the United States, and the rest of the world. Canada's come back to the pack a little bit. Some of these nations are improving, even if it's incremental. This is a sport governed by the spontaneous bounces of a frozen rubber disc, where if you have a great goaltender, they can act as equalizer.
The key will be, do they have a result in doubt through 40 minutes? And that's generally never the case for this Canadian team against anybody other than the United States. So
yes,
that's the end game for Switzerland, is, are we in this through 40?
Right. Because then it becomes, as our friend Colin Miller and the soccer types like to say, squeaky bum time, where the favorite has to start worrying about, oh my God, they're still hanging around here. We can't make a mistake. And then you're one shot away. Now, the U.S. is already through to the gold medal game. And I like your 40-minute point, because it was 1-0 United States after dominating Sweden in the first period today. And then the Swedes actually started playing better in the second period, but the U.S. started converting its chances, and the next thing you know, it was 5-0 for the Stars and Stripes, and that was that. Good night, Irene. So where's Canada at versus Switzerland after 40 minutes, I think, is a great barometer here, Blake, and we're 10 minutes into this hockey game, scoreless as we speak. On to the NHL, where Chris Johnson of TSN and The Athletic is reporting that the Canucks won a third-round pick for retaining 50% on Evander Kane. Look, we figured that was always the case, right? It's a big salary. You're going to have to retain. But if you're retaining 50%, particularly for these teams that are a little more cap tight or budget conscious, that a third-round pick was the high-end aim for Evander Kane. Do you think they get it? Do you think it's a fourth-rounder?
I think they might have to settle for fourth round.
Okay.
Based on his production and his play of late, he is not looking like a plug-and-play or even a reasonable facsimile of his former self. He is looking like a guy at the end of the line.
He is a proven playoff performer, though, so that is going in his favor. Or a bigger, more physical.
And even as recently as last year's playoffs, he looked pretty good.
He looked pretty good in last year's playoffs. Granted, a lot of wingers can look good, beside the centerman the Oilers can run out. The LA Kings were interested in Kane. You have to think that interest has only grown after they lose Kevin Fiala in this Olympic tournament. The Swiss winger out leg surgery, will miss the rest of the season. He got entangled with Tom Wilson against Canada. Innocuous play, or at least it looked like that, but his leg was trapped underneath, and that's that.
That's one team that you might get the third round out of, given what just happened, because they don't want to have to take on salary. I'm sure they would prefer to have something they can just nip off after the end of the season. So UFA, a relatively low cost at 50%.
Well, and they just made a big trade for Artemi Panarin, which means that Ken Holland and the LA Kings are in. And so now you have to backfill against what was one of your best wingers in Fiala prior to the
And at 50%, the Kings might be able to do Evander Kane and somebody else. Like, they might be able to get back a couple of pieces.
Well, they traded Philip Deneau earlier in the season. There's a center need there as well. As Teddy Bluger makes sense there as well, especially with the defensive style that head coach Jim Hiller plays, right?
And if you want two pieces, we're willing to make a package deal for you.
We're up in the ante. Patrick Allvin is traveling throughout Europe, taking a look at the top prospects in the 2026 NHL entry draft. That includes Ivar Stenberg, the Swedish winger whom we have talked about. Was also at the Five Nations tournament in Switzerland. I do wonder whether he's looking at Big Smits, the Latvian defenseman who's playing for their senior national team at the Milan Olympics. Some view him as a top 10, even top 5 pick in this NHL entry draft, but good to see Allvin and the Canucks getting the leg up here on looking at this draft class. And Rick Dhaliwal reporting the Canucks have had interest in New York Rangers prospect winger Brennan Othman in the past. He was the 16th overall pick in 2021. He had a marvelous draft plus one season where he scores 50 goals and gets 97 points in the Ontario Hockey League. The problem, he's had 3 NHL cameos since then, 41 games total in the NHL, and just the 3 points, 1 goal, the 1 goal coming this year in 16 games. He is starting to age out of prospect status, but we talked about it with Harm Dial last week. This is the profile of player reclamation projects that teams like the Vancouver Canucks, in the situation they're in, sometimes target or get offered in any kind of trade negotiations, and the Rangers are looking to shake things up, and it sounds like Othman is on the outs there, so we'll see. And then there's this. A story from The Athletic's Michael Russo is getting some examination, namely some of the behavior of Hughes-Tkachuk as quote-unquote mentor to his son Brady and best buddy Quinn Hughes, former Canucks captain. Now, in the story titled The Hughes-Tkachuk School of Hard Knocks, Inside the Quinn Hughes-Brady Tkachuk Friendship, Quinn's dad, Jim Hughes, is quoted as saying that Keith was tough on Brady and Quinn when they were living together and playing on the same U-17 team at the U.S. National Team Development Program in Ann Arbor, Michigan, telling Russo that Keith would tell them if they played poorly, you're ND, meaning no draft. There's also a story related from Jim. Mike, do we have the graphic there? Did I send you that? I thought I sent you that. There's also a story there that if, in fact, the Brady and Quinn played well, they would get steak. If they, and I just sent you it, Mike, if they didn't play well, Keith would have a box of cereal waiting for them. There you go. He fed them like kings, made steak and rice every night, but God forbid they lost the game. There was a box of cereal waiting for them on the kitchen table when they got home off the bus. Keith was brutally honest with Quinn, and I think that's the greatest way to make forward progress. Now, I sure hope that Quinn got 3 squares while living with the Tkachuks.
I'm sure he did.
I think it was probably a little exaggerated there.
Russo didn't. I mean, I think a lot was done there with tongue in cheek to some degree because Russo called it a very fun story. This was not a.
Well, but it's got antennas
story
up because for those who are accustomed with training elite hockey players or are old school hard hockey men like Jim Hughes and Hughes-Tkachuk, they seem to revel in these tales while people on the outside looking in go, what? Mm-hmm. These are some of the tactics you resorted to. Because there's also a story in there where Quinn recounts how Hughes-Tkachuk taught him how to drive, and perhaps even before he was legal to drive. Keith saying Quinn was his chauffeur for bi-weekly visits to a steakhouse. Matthew Tkachuk joked that Quinn or Brady served as Keith's DD during these bi-weekly visits to the steakhouse, leading some to question a quote-unquote mentor who made a 16-year-old his DD. You're a parent, you tell me.
Yeah, that's not a great look.
No.
When you're telling the newly minted driver, you're going to be driving home because I'm going to have too much.
And Blake and I are old enough to remember we covered the drafts where the Canucks, where the Tkachuk's were available, and of course Matthew famously available to the Vancouver Canucks. They bypassed him. As I recall, there were a number of concerns about Matthew two concerns about Matthew at the time. Number one was his skating. People didn't think he was a great skater. Well, he is more than compensated for perhaps the lack of elite skating. He's turned into one of the NHL's best power forwards with a couple of Stanley Cups on his resume. But the other concern was Keith himself. Does not exactly have a pristine reputation in NHL circles. Perhaps not the biggest work ethic guy. Also didn't do a lot of winning in his career, Keith Tkachuk. Not sure he made it past the second round even once.
Yeah. JT Miller,
people
better
knew
career,
the
but
personality that was Keith Tkachuk. Now, everybody adores the Tkachuk's mother, Chantel, and she is the sister of a NHL player agent, Craig Oster. So I can remember talking to someone with the Canucks, and I said, hey, Matthew, I believe it was Matthew, but it might have been Brady. I think it was Matthew. And said, hey, Tkachuk, is there any character concerns there? And they gave me an answer, and I said, okay, but what about his father? And the answer came quickly back, but his mother is a gem. He's more like his mother. He's more Oster than he is Tkachuk, is what one Canucks official told me. Anyways, of course, Quinn, Brady, playing on the American team alongside Matthew. It's the Tkachuks centered by Jack Eichel there on what is, I guess, the U.S. top line. It's hard to number them right now, but there you have it. And, of course, Quinn has been very, very good. I'm not sure that Quinn has been
he hasn't been uber dominant.
No, and I haven't caught every minute, but I haven't seen Quinn sort of take over the proceedings yet.
Yeah.
He's fully capable, as we know.
It is the one thing that sometimes happens, particularly for blue liners in these kinds of tournaments, is on their club teams, everything needs to go through them because you're not as deep.
Right.
Here, you can start the proceedings, but the forwards are so damn good that the puck can get moved around from there.
Well, that's it.
You don't get your second assist often. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you see Jake Gensel skating up the wing, and you think, oh, do I carry it through two more zones, or do I just give it to him because he's an elite NHL goal scorer who, is at speed coming over the blue line down the flank.
And he's normally got Kaprizov, but he doesn't have three Kaprizovs, which is basically what he's got with the Americans.
That's right. Abbey Canucks with the 2-1 Saturday overtime win over Ontario. Nikita Tolopilo stops 31 of 32 pucks and has stopped 70 of the last 72 while down there in Abbotsford. Sawyer Minio, Niels Oman, and Chase Stillman all returned from injury. The latter, Stillman, after missing 41 games, half a season. They play again this afternoon on this family day at Abbey Center. We got a super chat regarding Canucks prospects from a listener named Jason Lorraine. And folks, those of you on YouTube, that super chat button is always available to you. Hit it, make your donation, half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation, and we will get you on the program. If not that day, then the next day. Jason wants to know which prospects should be joining Abbotsford, and he lists Braden Coots, Ben Sherratt, Riley Patterson, and Andrei Medvedev. Now, Sherratt is 34 points in 50 games. the problem here is that he plays for the Kitchener Rangers, who are leading their division, and I suspect will play deep into the OHL playoffs, whereas Abbotsford is not looking like even a playoff team in its defense of the Calder Cup Championship, and would be done April
19th.
Regular season if they're not going any further. Now, we talked about Coots and Patterson last week. Braden Coots is playing on a very good Prince Albert team
He'll
now.
go 2 rounds deep, you'd have to think.
You would have to think, if not to the Memorial Cup. So you wonder about his just availability based on his club team performance. Patterson is on a third-place Niagara team. We talked about, last week, the Canucks had the hottest player in the OHL and the hottest player in the WHL in the form of Patterson and Coots. Now, we talked about Patterson last week. He's up to a staggering 69 points, 31 goals in 46 games. I mean, he's a point and a half per game right now with the Niagara Ice Dogs.
He started as a winger this season. He's been a center before. But he got moved to the wing and then got moved back into center early on. And that's what's really kickstarted him. So that's a great sign. He's a right shot.
Yeah.
The Canucks have got to love that. Like, usually it goes the other way. He's been a centerman. He's good, but then he moved into the wing and then he excelled with less on his plate. He seems to be excelling with more on his plate as the centerman. So that is really good news.
And the other thing is he turns 20 next month. So this is a more mature player. We'll see how his club team does, but I would suspect that if anyone, you're going to see him finding his way to Abbotsford. Medvedev, just, I think, forget about it. He doesn't turn 19 till September. It's a crowded crease already in the Canucks minor league levels. London's a second-place team in its division. It's usually one of the better teams in the OHL, so I'd be awfully surprised if Medvedev gets any AHL work anytime soon. All 4 of these players, it should be said, are signed by the Vancouver Canucks. So those decisions have already been made to, make them amongst the 50 contracts that are allowable by NHL rules. Anyways, thank you, Jason, for that. And one more time on my favorite story of the month. They were back playing hockey at the Tribute Community Center Friday, where the Oshawa Generals beat the Peterborough Petes 8-4 in the first game since the Oshawa club reminded its fan base to bathe before coming to the rink.
They requested it. Yeah. A little stronger than that.
You really should shower. You can see some of the fans had some fun with it there in attendance. I showered 2 times just in case, said one sign. Season tickets, $8.50. Email, $0. Viral embarrassment. I was smelly with an arrow.
Fans stink. How about the refs?
Very well done, Oshawa General fans.
It could take them a long time to wash this one off.
Wow. Very well done, Blake Price.
It's pretty easy. It's low-hanging fruit, this particular storyline.
It's on the nose.
Yeah. It's pretty good, too.
Let's get to today's menu. I will never not find this story funny. Greta, a great spot to catch the game. Also a fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You're mere steps from the arena or the stadium. But if you got an upcoming party going on, maybe it's a team party, family reunion, office, workplace, check out Greta. They have the awesome street food menu. The poutine is absolutely decadent. The arcade encircles the bar. Game for everyone. You'll have loads of fun. Private area on the back riser there. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We'll be joined here by John Shannon, former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada. Covered lots with John, including the Olympic tournament, Elias Pettersson's performance. You may have noticed the drone cameras that are being used at the Olympics. They're just absolutely extraordinary, especially for certain events. The sliding center and the way the drone is able to follow the bobsledders, the lugers, the skeleton athletes. So right in John's wheelhouse in terms of talking about sports on television, the changes you're going to see coming to your sets going forward, your screens. Also talk to John about some NHL matters, including the Kings and their appetite for adding. Maybe that's a spot for Evander Kane. Plus, John called Jim Robson one of the 4 best hockey play-by-play men in history. Has him on his Mount Rushmore. So we'll talk to John about the late Jim Robson. We lost him 8 days ago. Later in the program, we will talk about Canada at the Olympics and the medal hunt. Now, full disclosure, we recorded that a little bit earlier. A couple of events here. The Big Air, and I see the Big Air was delayed. There's a couple of Canadian hopefuls there. Megan
down
Oldham.
to one. We're down to one.
Okay, what's the latest?
It's going to happen. It's
Megan Oldham or Naomi or
Megan Oldham basically is guaranteed a medal now.
Okay.
We're
could
decided
still
to
be gold?
She's in that position now.
Okay, so she's in the first place as we await a couple
2 jumpers left.
More skiers. Also, the Canadian pair, and this is not the pair that people had the highest hopes for. Everybody went into this tournament thinking, Diana, shouldn't say tournament, competition, Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps as one-time world champions were Canada's best hope in the figure skating pairs. Now, you may know the story with Stellato-Dudek, who is 42 years old, the oldest competitor in the figure skating. She took a 16-year break after being a single skater who decided she wasn't done with the sport and came back. She suffered a concussion. She only arrived in Milan late. They had a awful short program, unfortunately, where he two-footed a landing, Deschamps did, and then put her down after a lift, and she fell. So they were 13th after the short. It absolutely eliminated their chances of getting on the podium. But the other Canadian pair skated absolutely beautifully in the short program. They finished 3rd, heading into the longer program.
As we talk, they're not there yet. They're a few skaters away.
Okay. So there's a couple of medal hopefuls on top of what we talked about. We will talk about later in the program, which is Mikhail Kingsbury, Courtney Sareau, and Laurent Dubreuil all hitting the podium this weekend.
There's another little bit of news, which I find kind of funny. We saw the little tussle with Tom Wilson at the end of the French game.
Yes.
With Pierre Crino.
Who was the big bad Frenchman, right? Who was selected for this tournament despite the objections of some French hockey fans. He punched a goaltender earlier in the season in the French
Which
league.
may have informed the news I'm about to disclose. Monsieur Crino est fini.
Fini.
Pour l'éternellement.
Let me correct you, Blake. He's terminé. He's not fini, or he'd be dead.
Well, for the purposes of this tournament, he is.
Oui.
And it's purely an association decision.
Yeah.
The Olympics is allowed him to play.
The French Association is
The French Association is quite dismayed at his behavior.
trop dangereux. Il nous embarrasse.
Following his attitude, as the Google Translate gave me, he will not be performing for the rest of the tournament.
He wanted to fight Tom Wilson, so one wonders whether Monsieur Crino is the brightest bulb in the drawer.
Although he did very well because he's a big dude.
From the socket.
He is a massive dude. So
He's
he
big
kind of
dude.
ragdolled
Was he
Wilson.
6'2", 220?
Oh, he's bigger than that, I think. I think he's taller than that. And he kind of ragdolled Wilson to the ground there initially. But he will not be playing in who are they playing in their little playing game? Germany. So, I mean, they had an outside chance there. They play their best game. They can take Germany to the 60th minute at the very least, I think.
I'm sure that Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle, JJ Peterka,
a little bit better than
Sider,
Alex
like
Texier.
the real German
Yes.
NHL players are quite happy for this news.
Yes. Yeah, because that means they're purely playing hockey tomorrow, and they should win at the end of that one.
All right. If I'm not mistaken here, we've got one skier left in the Big Air with Megan Oldham continuing to hold down the first spot. It's a British skier. She finished. She stands 4th as of now, so this could be the second gold medal.
And Megan still has to jump herself.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, so she's got money in her pocket here.
Okay, I thought she was waiting out the final competitors.
No, she's up next, actually.
Okay, so she does still have to perform a jump.
Yeah.
And not blow it. is what I'm hearing.
Well, she doesn't need to not blow. She can completely blow this if she wants. She's got a good score on the board.
Okay. So it's not a total of 2 scores. It's just the
best 2 of 3.
Okay.
And she's got 2 great ones in the bank already.
Got you.
So she's holding down first.
So this could even be Dare to Dream, like an exhibition where she can go out and have some fun.
No, because she's I believe. Oh no, she's ranking first. You're right. So it is the British.
Yeah, it's the British skier athlete is next, and then
so she could just do a victory 360 and call it a day.
Vancouver Canadians have announced their promotional schedule. We will get to that news with the Seahawks and history made in the NLL. Plus the weekend in golf, all of that coming up later in the program today. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I don't remember what I had Friday, but I probably lost. I've been on a losing skid here. Here's what I will say, because the game is already underway. Blake Price, you will attest for me.
Mm-hmm.
What is the call on the Canada-Switzerland game?
You said 3-2 Switzerland in overtime.
And the Swiss on a 3-2 correct score pays 5,000 plus 5,000. So 50 to 1.
Your bet's alive.
It is.
I'm going to go back to EP40.
Okay.
Dare to Dream. Is this a hot streak?
Yes.
For EP40. He's amongst the favored scorers for the Swedes. But I suspect that they have a chance to score some goals in this one versus Latvia. Plus 190. For EP40.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. John Shannon is next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
Pizza. They are famous for one thing. Make it 2.
Pizza?
They're famous for their pizza. The other thing they're famous for?
Prices.
Delivery guarantee.
Oh, my. Yes, of course.
If your order is not delivered on time, it's free.
Free pizza.
That's right. When you place your order, you have an estimated time of delivery. If your food arrives after that time, your food is free. Put your hand up, please. We'll take a survey. Who hates free pizza? I see no hands in the air.
No. All I know is this should do wonders for the stopwatch industry.
When there was bad weather when I was a kid, we phoned Pizza.
That's right. Same here.
Let's see you beat this weather. They did.
Snowstorm. We're getting some snow in Vancouver.
Potentially.
Here's your route to free pizza.
Pizza. Go check it out.
Here's John Shannon, the most famous man from Oliver, British Columbia, former executive producer, Hockey Night in Canada. His podcast, 100% Hockey and 100% Canucks. And we are going to talk some Canucks here with John. But we start with our poll question, our Yellow Dog poll question today. John, we are asking people, what would you prefer in the men's tournament, the Canada-US final or the USA being upset before the final?
Is there a third option?
What would that be, sir?
Feel free.
I don't care.
You don't care?
Really?
No, I just want Canada to win. So if they beat if they beat, Slovakia, or if they beat Finland or whomever in the gold medal, or they beat the Americans, winning is winning.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like. I like winning. We've put ourselves in a good position to win.
Temperature check on the two behemoths. What have you made of Canada and the U.S. through the tournament in the preliminary round?
Well, I think Canada has looked very good. I think that there's a small amount of things I'm sure that John Cooper and his staff are concerned about. You do worry about Tom Wilson every once in a while, just because you don't want him to cross the line. I don't think he crossed the line the other day, but I was worried that he might. But I like what they have done with the lines. I particularly enjoy watching Crosby with Marner and Stone. I like the fact that they can move Wilson from McConnor's line down to be with Nick Suzuki and move Nathan McKinnon up. There's a lot of flexibility there. And really what's happened is that the Canadian forwards are so good. They have really masked whatever defensive deficiencies we have, if we in fact do have any deficiencies there. So from that perspective, it has been really impressive. On our show, we've had Ken Hitchcock on all week analyzing this stuff, and he's typical coach answer. He said they're 8 out of 10 right now. And he, fair. By the way, he viewed the Americans at 6.5 out of 10.
Whoa.
Yep. That's fair. And we mentioned Czech game, Swiss game were reasonably stern tests, especially through 40 minutes.
Is so stiff. The Americans are 3-0.
Ken Hitchcock is a perfectionist.
The Americans are 3-0.
All right. He hasn't yet seen Yuri Lehtinen out there playing 200 feet. And so until he does, he is going to give them less than 10 out of 10 score.
Thankfully, this is one of the sports that isn't judged, because Hitchcock is one of the judges. My goodness.
So you're right, Blake. But here's the thing. All 3 American games, they have not gotten off to the great starts like Canada has. They haven't. And so, we laugh and joke about it in the NHL all the time. 60-minute games. Well, Canada has played much closer to 60-minute hockey in their 3 games than the Americans have in theirs.
Yep.
You can't tell me that your eyebrows weren't raised in the Latvia game.
Of
they
course.
were. You can't tell me your eyebrows weren't raised in the German game. They were.
Yep.
Then Uncle Sam flexes his muscles and they're up by 3. But they certainly haven't played as consistently as Canada has for the 3 games.
No doubt. Before we move on to Elias and Team Sweden, you would have a great perspective on all of this. We asked Friday on our Yellow Dog poll question, have you ever laid eyes on a better forward line than McDavid with McKinnon and Celebrini, which he went to in the game against Switzerland? We're getting shouts to the 81 Canada Cup, Gretzky, Lafleur, and Perreault. We are getting shouts to the 87 Canada Cup. Of course, Howard-Chuck famously on the face-off the game-winning goal, but it was Goulet and Prop beside Mario and Wayne for the bulk of that tournament. What says you? I know they haven't stuck together, but when he plays McDavid with McKinnon and Celebrini, have you ever seen better than that, John?
I think the only one that comes close is there have been a couple of times in some of those international tournaments we have seen Gretzky with Messier and Lemieux. And when you think about 3 of the greatest players of all time, and I'm not doubting McKinnon and McDavid there. I'm not anointing Celebrini yet, but he's going to come close soon. So I think that, to me, Wayne in the middle with Mario and Mark on the wings has occurred. So that, to me, would be the only thing that comes close. That when you put Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid together, it is just it's like having a locomotive play with a cheetah, and between the speed and the physical force, and then on top of that you put the enthusiasm and the skill of Macklin Celebrini. It's something to behold. You do wonder, what is in John's mind on the bench, saying, okay, when do I put them together? If you watch the Oilers a lot, I've always compared when Connor and Leon get played together as it's almost like a drug. It's like a fix. Every once in a while, you need a fix. And you wonder how John Cooper looks and analyzes, okay, when do I put McKinnon up there? And the other thing is what it does do is I think, and doesn't get much notice, is Nick Suzuki is much more effective as a center than he is a winger. And so putting Suzuki on that line, I shudder to say third line, fourth line, because they're all so good. But if you put Suzuki back in the center, and he's much more comfortable playing that, I think, than he has been playing with the wing on the wing.
We're quibbling at this point. By the way, they were up 2-1 versus Switzerland and manhandling them when they made the initial switch. So that just tells you he needed his fix, and it wasn't really score related at all. Watching Macklin Celebrini have the success that he's had at this tournament, does it make you think that maybe Connor Bedard and Matthew Schaefer could have done just fine? Because it's not a terribly physical tournament just yet. And maybe that was some of the concern, and the stage hasn't been too big for a 19-year-old. Could Bedard and Schaefer have handled this, do you think?
I actually had that thought on Sunday, particularly Bedard. Connor Bedard could have fit in with this club much as easy as anyone. So yeah, the answer is yes. I'll be honest. I did not think of Matthew Schaefer simply because we have been so dominant in the offensive zone. We don't even notice our defense very much.
That's very fair. Yep.
You know, I mean, we revel in what Cale Makar does in the offensive side of the game, but on the, in their own zone, they have been, other than I think one really bad play by Colton Parayko. I think that the defense is being efficient and being unnoticed.
I did notice a slap shot from way out beating Jordan Binnington. I did notice that.
Yeah, and Binnington's
not as bad as Jeremy Swayman.
Fair enough.
No, that's true.
No.
That's a deep 2 versus a full 3 pointer from outside the line. Yes.
Those goals both belong in the Oshawa Generals arena.
Yeah.
But Binnington has played.
We've
had fun with that story, including today. Binnington has started 2 of the 3, so is the die cast here.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
It's done. Just like the Americans. They'll go with Hellebuck. We'll go with Binnington.
Yeah.
I think John Cooper is, when he told Kyle after the first game, when did you decide to play Binnington? In the first game, he said 358 days ago.
Yeah.
So I think he decided 358 days ago that Binnington was going to be the goalie of record for the tournament. I really do.
Moving on to Sweden, you told us last week, watch out for the Swedes. Now, they got a difficult route here to the gold medal because they have to play in this play-in round and then withdraw the United States. But they get there and nearly do better, nearly win their group, if not for a late goal. Thanks to the exploits of Elias Pettersson, centering a new line with Philip Forsberg, finally getting some run, Marcus Johansson, and Petey scores twice against the Slovaks. What have you made of the bounce back here from the Canucks center?
I see him smiling a bit more. I see him having a bit more fun. I'm not as. He's been good. Has he been the superstar we all expect? No, but I'm not sure anybody on the Swedish team has been that way. What we don't hear and see is you get a sense, with all the discussions about who should be coaching this team and was Paul Maurice considered and that whole concept that these guys are true professionals, but they're NHLers now. They're not Swedish national team players. They're NHLers, and so they all want to be better, and they all want to compete. So I think it's been great for Pettersson that he's been able to do this. I know that it's a routine thing to say. Well, maybe he's going to get his act together, and people in Vancouver are going to be happy when he comes back that he's playing better. I'm not sure that that's really the case. I think you have to have your fingers crossed to hope that. At the same time, I do think the Swedes who, by the way, I mean, if they get to the gold medal game, there's a good chance they will have had to beat the Americans and the Canadians to get there, which would be an unbelievable story when you're looking for storylines. So from that perspective, Pettersson's going to have to play a role. You know, we know what he can do. We know how good he can be. He's just got to have the right mindset to do it. And he's got a much better mindset in Milan than he's had in Vancouver the last couple of months.
The concept of a Canadian coach for a Swedish team, like a true hockey nation, might strike some people as a bit odd, and the Swedes might want nothing of it, you know, being prideful as they are. But is that the way to close the gap here? Like, Canada and the U.S. are kind of skating away, and again, we'll let this tournament play out. But just on the sheet of paper, Canada and the U.S. are skating away from the rest of the globe a little bit. Does that tighten the gap? I mean, English football has been coached by foreigners multiple times, including currently. If the English can accept that fate in soccer, can't the Swedes do the same, or the Finns, or anybody else for that matter?
I think they could. But at the same time, I think there would be a huge controversy.
Yeah.
They're particularly the Finns and the Swedes. They are proud countries. Let's remember, Craig Ramsey coached Slovakia in the last Olympics. We have seen Canadian coaches go over there and succeed. At the same time, I just don't see that. Again, not for a blatant plug, but Scotty Bowman on our show the other day actually mentioned that he thought it would be better to have a North American coach for the Swedes, because they are all NHLers. And
for those teams, you're right. Yeah. For Slovakia, that's half and half. For anybody below that sort of line, I think no. But for a team that's full NHLers like that, I agree. It makes sense.
I mean, because they play 82 games or more in North America, so a North American coach would have a better feel for what that guy does than playing. Because we always joke about, the European teams always they know each other because they play together in international tournaments. Well, not as much as they used to, guys. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of those great successful Swedes and Finns are playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs while the World Championships are on.
Well, that may be good for the gander, but that's not good for the Canadian goose. I don't ever want to see a Yank, Swede, Finn, or Russian coaching our team, okay?
Okay, well, so are you going to say the same thing about figure skating? Are you going to say the same thing about curling?
I will say the same thing about curling. Curling and hockey, to me, are outliers, but these are our sports. This is what we do best, and I don't want to see any foreigner coaching our team.
The current manager for English football is German.
And for soccer, I
understand with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
For soccer, as you know, as soon as Don Carlo wants to say yes to the Canadian team, he is our coach, of course, as a part-time resident of the city of Vancouver with his beautiful BC bride. Moving on. John, this drone footage from the Olympics is extraordinary. Now, I was accustomed to it. I watched some alpine skiing on CBC on the Saturday, so I was accustomed to it in alpine skiing. But watching it now over the full suite of Olympic sports, or at least the sports that are using it, oh my goodness, the sliding center and the drone shots there. Talk to me, sir. Your expertise is television. How much we are going to see drone footage as part of, the future of sports on television?
I think we're going to see it a lot more than people realize. I think we're already starting to see that a lot more. You know, North American sports, we've kind of relegated it to, in TV talk, we talk about scenics. We deal with aerials outside the arena. You know, they have used a drone at the Masters. We're going to see it a lot in golf, I suspect. One of the reasons that I think that people will be a little apprehensive in North America is safety. You know, you don't want to get too close to the athletes. You know, because the answer is, what if the drone falls? Can you guarantee me I'll be honest, I've had these discussions at the NHL level about drones and about the spider cam, the rails, the wire cameras that are above the rink that we're seeing at hockey, which are beautiful shots. But can you guarantee me that it's not going to fall? 100% guarantee. Can you guarantee? So that has always been the big issue. But the drone stuff is so creative. It's easier to do at the Olympics. So just a couple of things. It's easier to do at the Olympics when you're in the same venue, because they've been working on that skiing venue since and do the technical television setup of that venue for 3 months. So they have been working that 3 months. If we want to do it on a regular basis in North American sports, you're not going to have 3 months to set this kind of stuff up on a regular basis. It's going to have to be specialized. That's the one thing. The other thing about the Olympics, and what I'm really thrilled to see with the Olympics, is the Olympics were always that event where manufacturers would wait and unveil stuff and say, this is where the new technology is starting. High definition television. I remember standing in the International Broadcast Center in Nagano, Japan, watching a hockey game on high def TV saying, oh my God, it's going to change the sport. And it has. It has changed hockey. Tons of technologies, whether it be cameras or microphones or graphics, really get unveiled at the Olympic level. And I think we this time around, over this, you guys are both aware of what happens at summer games. Same thing with cameras going into pools. All the flags that are on virtually inserted into the lanes of the swimming pool. Just magical stuff that has tremendous long-term ramifications for our business, but they get set up and they get presented at the Olympics because the world is watching, and then everybody walks out of the Olympics and saying, yes, I want that.
And a lot of people have been worried about distraction for the athletes, but these, for the adrenaline sports, they don't notice. The skiers can't tell, the bobsledders can't tell.
Yeah, no, but the athletes are going to have to get used to it, much like they have to get used to other distractions.
2 years ago at the Canadian Open golf tournament, I don't know if you recall, on the 17th hole, Robert McIntyre, who was going to win the tournament, Robert McIntyre stopped and turned and yelled at the TV people, "Get that drone away from me.
Yep.
I don't want him anywhere near me." And so that they're gonna, we're closer to using them. It's fantastic, but there's always going to be people that are going to say, I don't want it to interfere with the sport. I always worry that it is going to interfere with the sport.
Yeah, well,
but I'm conservative in nature that way.
Static sports like golf, like beside a batter in baseball, like that's not going to fly. But I think in 80% of the cases, it can be fine.
Well, and it's excellent insight from John, from a television executive producer, because we all sit there and go, why don't they use them? And John says, well, it's a little more complicated. Like, can you 100% guarantee me that they don't fall? Because athlete safety is paramount. And needless to say, these are the sorts of concerns that leagues and sporting federations bring to the table when they talk about
those drone operators. Those drone operators that are working at Alpine have been practicing for months and months.
Yeah,
practicing for months and months. So if let's say we brought it to hockey. Okay, let's say we brought drone to hockey on the game. So that means there have to be at least 32 professionally trained drone operators in 32 arenas. And then, well, what if he's sick? Well, then we have to have another guy. So all of a sudden, I guarantee you, we'd have to have 100 guys.
John, you don't.
North America that way.
That's the thing. Starting within weeks, months, and this technology is already there. It is all AI. It's on a program.
Oh wow!
You just program it, and it follows the action. You do not need a human involved at all. And in the case of things like bobsled, it's on a pre-programmed route. You don't need a human at all. Wow. It knows the track, and it knows proximity to the edges of the track, proximity to the sled, and you just press play, and it goes, and it returns home, and it's pretty crazy.
What I'm hearing is these drones are smarter than the three of us.
Tell me about it. By the way, shout out to my pal Doug Beforth, who was the first man to talk about having a camera inside a hockey net.
Oh yeah.
The original net cam was unveiled at the Lillehammer Olympics in 1994. It took Doug a year to convince the International Ice Hockey Federation to allow it to happen. The technology was so rudimentary. We only had one camera, but in fairness, you had to create a dummy camera at the other end so the net looked identical.
Well, and it's been huge in terms of goal, no goal. Even the Slovakia-Sweden game on Saturday, where a puck looked like it was over the line, maybe not over the line, and the goal.
Well, and then on top of that is that now the viewer has become so sophisticated, because viewers are much more sophisticated now. They want to know where's the net cam. They want to know where's that shot.
That's right.
Where's the perfect shot? It's not like 1982 when it was just the viewer sat there and you gave him everything you had. Is the viewers are now demanding stuff.
They know where the cameras are. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
They know where the cameras are.
Moving on to the NHL, John, Kevin Fiala out for the year, leg surgery after that awful entanglement with Tom Wilson, not Wilson's fault. This is a massive blow to the LA Kings. I know you know Kenny Holland pretty well. He was thought to be a buyer here by the deadline, especially after adding Panarin. You tell me, does the Fiala injury change the stakes for the Kings, or do they get more aggressive in terms of adding forwards and wingers post-Fiala injury?
Well, they get some cap space. I think more than $7 million of cap space to play with. So, question becomes, does Kenny go out and get a rental? In Kenny's vocabulary, he says, okay, we lose Fiala, we lose 18 goals. How do I find 18 goals? Well, you know what? They in theory, they got more than 18 goals already by having Panarin show up. So from that perspective, are they worse off now than they were before the Olympic break? The answer is no. The question is now, does he go out and find a rental? And at what price for the rental? And as you know, guys, as well as I do, there are 31 teams that will now see Kenny coming because he got a guy with a broken leg. So is the price too high for him to do it? There's no way that he's a seller.
No, not after Panarin. Not after Panarin. No way.
Not after Panarin. So the question is how does and this is a league where, broken record, get in and win, and that's Kenny's challenge. He's got to get his team into the playoffs. They're not in right now. He's got to get his team into the playoffs. And so find a way to find somebody that can give us 18 more goals. And then Fiala is replaced.
And lastly, John, I saw you tweet about this last week. Jim Robson on your Mount Rushmore of all-time hockey play-by-play men. A word or two about the gentleman, and I do mean gentleman, that we lost here last week.
Well, it was, based on the stories that I understand and the ongoing, the fact that he was at lunch on Friday with his friends with his hockey pool and then had passed away on the Sunday. Yes, he is on my Mount Rushmore. I do tell people in BC that there was an appreciation for Jim Robson across the country. There really was. He was there. Amongst the greatest, and some of his greatest calls will go down in history, not just in Vancouver, but his call of Bob Nystrom's overtime goal in 1980, the first Stanley Cup final that I was able to produce, will go down as one of the great calls because of its simplicity and its enthusiasm. And that's what Jim Robson gave you every night. He gave you simplicity and enthusiasm, and you could hear the passion in his voice. He truly a legend, truly a BC legend, but in so many ways an NHL legend. I will say, just as an aside on that, and I wasn't going to say it, but I was ticked off. I think the NHL missed the moment. They should have done a release from the commissioner saying that saddened by the loss of Jim Robson, as they did with Bob Cole. It should have been mentioned, but what has happened in the NHL the last 2 or 3 years is that most of the people that would understand Robson's role have retired. And those guys are Canadian, and now there would be people in the New York office that wouldn't know who Jim Robson was.
If it didn't happen during their life, during their adulthood, it didn't happen, right?
Hey, it was my first rule getting into J school. Our professors hammered into us: history does not begin when you arrive on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Right. By the way, Robson, Kelly, Cole, Gallivan.
Yep.
Wow.
I like it.
There's a notable omission there. Is there a history between you and Foster Hewitt?
No, not at all.
No.
But Foster Hewitt, I actually, I don't know if we have time, but I used to argue with Bob Cole all the time. I said, because he loved Foster. Yeah. I'd say, Bob, Foster wouldn't get hired in 1995. Foster couldn't get a job. Foster Hewitt is Foster Hewitt because he was first, not because he was best.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I have tons of respect. My first year at Hockey Night was Foster's last. So I have tons of respect for Mr. Hewitt. But when you talk about play-by-play men, there's no comparison with the four guys that I mentioned and Foster Hewitt.
Yep. Gotcha. Marvelous stuff, John. Thank you for the time. Enjoy the rest of the games here, and we'll catch up soon.
Enjoy the holiday, boys.
Yes. Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Well, an extraordinary weekend at the Olympic curling venue where the most genteel sport in the Winter Games has become the most controversial. It all starts when Team Sweden accuses Canadian third Mark Kennedy of a double touch at the hog line when releasing the rock. Kennedy not only denies, but unleashes a profane defense, counteroffensive on the rink and post-match. And the result is a reprimand for Canada by World Curling officials for unsporting language and the introduction of umpires at the hog line to watch for these double touches. From there, arguably the two best curlers in the world, Canada's Rachel Homan, Britain's Bruce Mowat, are called for double touch infractions. Joining us now to discuss is the 2010 Olympic champion from Vancouver, a world champion and a four-time Brier champion. He's covering curling for NBC, and you can catch him on the Inside Curling podcast, produced by Mike Rogerson, daily during the games and weekly thereafter. Our pleasure to welcome Kevin Martin to the program. Kevin, I know you're very busy there. Thank you for the time.
Hey, thanks, Matt. No problem at all.
You've been involved in this sport all of your life, my friend. What do you make of this weekend's drama?
Yeah, there was definitely, that was unusual, definitely. But I think it's been a little blown out of proportion a touch. But you're right. That's the honest truth that Oscar did notice something he thought with Mark, and then Mark did not take kindly to that. I think that's safe to say. And but bringing the umpires out, I think World Curling and they handle it very, very well because it hasn't been much since. Rachel's team, Rachel lost one in the first end, and Bobby Lammy, the second on Great Britain's men's team, had one pulled as well, and that's fine. And in that game that Rachel had it pulled, she was up 4-0 after that. So it didn't have any bearing on the game, which is great. But I was worried, what I was wondering about was how Team Canada, specifically Mark Kennedy, would bounce back after that, because that was quite the controversy for curling. And but he's curling along. He was now they just played, so I don't know the current, but he was cruising along at 87%, which was third place amongst thirds. So he seems to be able to handle it, which is great. You hate to see something like this come out on affect outcomes on the ice. But it's something unusual. I've got to agree with you on that one, Matt.
Oh, wow. And it sounded like a hockey scrum. Look, the video.
You're still dealing with athletes. You're still dealing with, yes, curling generally doesn't have that happen, but you're still dealing with top athletes, trying to do their best. And sometimes, things get a little heated, I guess you should say.
Indeed. Now, the video is pretty clear that these were correct calls, harsh as that may be. And Switzerland had previously mentioned the double touches from the Canadians. Rachel said, absolutely not, zero chance on rink after her infraction. And then in the post-match said crazy, and they were making stuff up. Kevin, as a Canadian, how did you feel about the reactions of our two athletes?
Yeah, well, I watch Rachel's quite a lot. it's hard to tell. But I do like the fact that umpires were put on the hog lines. I think that's important. And then that way, because you don't want players shouldn't be talking about, did I hook the person coming into the net? Well, if the referee calls you for hooking, you can complain. You can. But it's not going to help. The referee calls the hooking call. You take the hooking call. After the game, you might complain about the hooking call. That's okay. I don't see any problem with that. And in the game, like I said, with Rachel's, when it got pulled, if it should or shouldn't have, that's up to the ref or the umpire in curling's case. But that's fine. But after the fact, they were actually up 4-0. They did,
and they lost. Yeah, they lost it.
They gave up a 4-ender late, which is crazy. But going up 4-0 for Rachel is usually good to go. So it's been an exciting, to say the least. Yeah. You've got on the women's side, you've got Rachel at 3 losses, which is kind of it's the most you can safely have. You get to that 4th loss, you're hoping for some help. Nicodine on the men's side, you kind of give him the old, Nicodine and Sweden, they'll be in the playoffs. Well, they're 1-5. They lost again, so 5 losses. The best they could do is 4 wins, 5 losses. One of the favorites, well, if not the favorite, is out. It's wild what's going on here. Yeah. And the curling side, it's really fun because you don't know what's going to happen next. You've got Rachel, who is the overwhelming favorite, at 3 losses. Nicodine, Great Britain just lost. They're at 3 losses. That's Bruce Mowat. If your favorite wasn't Brad Jacobs or Nicodine, your favorite would have been Mowat and this. So it's wild.
Yeah, I understand you've been a voice for instant replay, Kevin.
Well, we've talked about it for a very long time. There's certain limitations. The handles. So one thing that was a problem up until now, and it's not at all, the handles, the electronic handles. So you can't be touching the rock handle over the hog line. Like that was then the handles they've got now, which are new and they're awesome. So that is not a problem anymore. We talked about that a lot. But now things like these athletes are so big and strong and fast now that it's really hard for the human eye to see this stuff. Like it's great to have umpires on the line, but boy, it's hard to tell. They're just cruising so fast now by that hog line. I think to things like these double touches and things like that I never even heard of really a big problem with that until now. But certainly a camera would
be helpful.
That. Well, yeah, you could challenge and a quick look and you'd have your answer. In that regard, as far as carrying the rock over the line, that's not a problem anymore. These handles have been excellent at the games.
Hey, help me out, Kevin. For a layperson, what is the advantage gained of a double touch?
Nothing. Nothing. There's no. If anything, well, let's talk about this. So a 40-pound object turning, like you got to put a turn on, so it's spinning around, and if you touch it again with your finger, I can't imagine you're going to be able to have more control. You know what I mean? I can't imagine. So but rules, but that doesn't make light of rules. Rules are important in the game, and but that's a rule that had. Like I curled for 30 years and been involved now with commentating for 12, and in 42 years, this is new to me.
Yeah. Well, in Rachel's case, she sort of just grazes the handle. Sorry, Kevin. In Rachel's case, she sort of grazes the handle. In Kennedy's case, it looks like he sort of wants to direct or steer the rock with the one finger push. So is there a distinction
good
there?
Luck.
Good luck.
It's
Impossible?
a 40-pound object. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But we got to be careful not to make light of rules. Like, you know what I mean? If you're not supposed to do it, don't do it. But it has been blown pretty out of proportion. That's for sure. But you know what? It's got people talking about the sport in a big, massive, incredible, massive way, and it hasn't really affected Team Canada's play. Team Sweden were struggling going. Oh, they've been struggling the whole time, so it hasn't really been a factor for them either, which is good. I think that I just from an old athlete's perspective, weird things happen in sport, especially at this high level, and but it seems to be calming down, and that's good. The umpires are involved. World Curling has handled it terrifically, I think. So all in all, it's been something else, though. It's been quite the last 3 days.
You brought it up, and I'm going to ask you, where are you on no such thing as bad press? Because I got to admit, Kevin, I have watched more curling since Friday than I ever remember at an Olympics. I was locked on every rock for Saturday's match, Homan versus Switzerland. I found myself yelling at the TV for the first time ever with curling, and I was crestfallen when she gave up that steal of 4. So where are you on no such thing as bad press? Because needless to say, a lot of eyeballs have come to the curling sheets since Friday.
A lot of eyeball to the curling sheets, to anything curling. I was talking to one of the upper brass here at NBC, and we had a real good laugh about it. Going, wow! Everywhere you're going, anywhere on any show or any social media or anything, and it's just wall to wall curling, and which curling does do very well at the Olympics usually, but not to this. This is wild.
Absolutely. Lastly, Kevin, you mentioned Rachel Homan. She's back into the win column here, but her second games, and once again she's struggling a little bit. Is that just the pressure of the rings, or is there more to the story with Rachel Homan?
Oh, there'd be no more to the story. It's just, the rings are heavy. They really are, and it's the way it is. I'm really glad it is, though, because it means so much to the athletes, and I think that's the most important thing. It adds a ton of pressure, and I can't see where that's a negative. Just you have to be able to handle the pressure and make your shots. And right now, though, I would not count out Rachel Homan. That would be a mistake.
Where are you on Brad Jacobs? How do you feel the men's rink is doing?
Oh, they're curling great. Yeah, they're curling really good. Switzerland, though, are curling the best on the men's side right now. They're curling the best, but Brad Jacobs, they're curling very well. If you're to put, and then Mowat, who usually, they're struggling a little bit for them. I think they're still going to make playoffs, but they're not playing at their usual self. So, but then once again, that's the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a sport of honor like golf, where it's nobler to call a penalty on yourself and lose than win with even a hint of suspicion. Let's hope we get back to that, Kevin, in what's left of the curling. Thank you very much for the time here today, and you'll have a lot of fascinated, riveted audience members watching the curling from here on out. Appreciate this.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Some price from the historic Wall Center in the Nation Network studio built by Arbor Lee. The real win happens after the final buzzer. Stay downtown, stay comfortable, stay close to everything. Here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center, your game day home base starts at wallcenter.com. Well, Canada finally gets a gold medal halfway through the games, thanks to Moguls GOAT Mikhail Kingsbury, who wins the double Moguls, a new event, and you know how we do in those new events, Blake.
Well, a new event for the Olympics. They've been doing this on the World Cup for 30 years. It took them 30 years, 28 years, to get it into the Olympics for some reason.
And that adds to his silver in the individual Moguls. Canada won 4 golds at Beijing 2022, which was the fewest since Lillehammer in 94. As Ben Steiner points out, federal sport funding, of course, increased in 2005 when we were to own the podium and Road to Excellence, of course. And that helped Canada to 10-plus gold medals in 2010, 2014, 2018. Of course, we won the gold rush here in Vancouver Whistler 2010. It's gone right back down, and Blake, update here on what has happened. Well, not a single Canadian slider was even a medal contender.
No.
So sliding became a big zero despite the addition of a second sliding center at Whistler. Interesting. We have thus far been shut out in the Alpine. There's still the women's slalom with Laurence Saint-Germain, but usually you get an Alpine medal or two. Short track has had its travails, a bunch of great contenders in the men's and ladies, 1,000 meters, 500 meters, 1,500 haven't come through. Now, there's still a bunch of freestyle skiing medals on the board that we can get to. Weather today for the big air. Oh my goodness, it looked. I mean, it looks like gates would have been picked up and blown across the mountain today. It was blowing so hard in Cortina. Thought we might get a ski jumping medal, Abigail Strait, but she wasn't able to pull through. And speed skating has delivered 2 medals to date, and there's still a couple there as well. Snowboarding, also some potential medals, but I mean, we ain't getting close to 10 gold medals.
No. Oh, God, no. No,
Not,
we'd be lucky
I
if
mean,
we get to 5.
Yeah. Your hockey, your curling need you now more than ever. Courtney Sereau wins a silver in the 1,000-meter short track, adding to her bronze in the 500. A really good feel-good story bronze medal in speed skating, where Laurent Dubreuil, whose family has been engaged in this sport for decades, he was the oldest athlete in the 10-man final in the 500 meters. The field features 9 of the top 10 times in the sport's history. The only top 10 time that was not featured in this race was Jeremy Witherspoon, the old Canadian sprinter whose record has still held up to some degree. Anyways, Dubreuil posted the top time. He got caught by the penultimate group, but still a good medal there for a veteran. He was the oldest man.
I think it was an Olympic record when he crossed the finish
line. It was an Olympic
and
record.
Got beaten twice.
And he got beat by a couple other Olympic records. They are really pushing the boundaries in that
It's
sport.
a very fast track.
Yes,
Yeah.
as we've talked about. And speaking of the short track non-medals failures,
Danjanu.
Will Danjanu gets body checked in the final of the 1,500 meters and finishes off the podium. I like what Rob Williams said about this. I mean, we're talking about brushes on the double touches and curling. Meanwhile, you can just go out and body check somebody in short track.
Well, there's the famous one from Salt Lake where, the 3 leaders in the final sweep out each other. The guy in fourth, way behind the Australian.
That's right.
Crosses the finish line and wins, even though he was out of contention with 20 meters to go.
Anyways.
Funny sport.
Freestyle skiing, snowboarding alongside the hockey and the curling.
Matt, never mind funding, though. I just think critical mass of people that are on mountains, that are on rinks, we should just be better. Like, we should just be better skiers. We should be better ski jumpers. We should be better lugers and bobsled. Like, this is our thing.
Let's go over the ones where we should have had. Mixed curling absolutely should be a medal for Canada. No dice. In fact, the couple was terrible. Figure skating mixed. Our figure skaters are down, Blake. We don't have singles in figure skating.
And we, again, this used to be a position of power for us even when we were shitty originally. Like in the 80s and 90s when we got no medals, at least we got figure skating medals.
Yeah. Maya Schwinghammer had 2 chances in the moguls, did not deliver a medal. We mentioned Danjanu, Dubois, Pierre Gillies in the men's short track, all no medals in the 1,000 and the 1,500. Kim Boutin, who is a very accomplished short tracker, no medals thus far. I mentioned the ski jumping, speed skating. Ted Jan Bloemen was kind of
way past his prime.
His prime there. Isabel Weideman didn't deliver. Ivani Blondin didn't deliver. Now, they were exceptional in the team speed skating, the 3-athlete. They don't call it a relay. I forget what they call it. Team pursuit. Mm-hmm. So that is likely. In fact, that could be a gold medal because Isabel Weideman was exceptional leading the pack there. The mass start is available there as well. Women's half pipe, the snowboarding, Elizabeth Hosking had a chance. Of course, Mark McMorris wasn't able to compete after the head injury he suffered. And still a slope-style snowboarding medal out there potentially for Laurie Blouin.
The one area of growth that we saw in these games so far is the cross-country ski team. They are starting to show signs of life, not showing medals yet.
No.
But their depth and the promise is starting to be there, but they weren't able to blossom in time for these games.
I was really surprised to read this, but the men's 4x7.5 relay team was considered a medal contender here. They finished 5th. needless to say, the Norwegians and the Swedes
Yes.
are pretty damn good at this sport.
But they were a comfortable fifth,
Yeah.
and had an
So
outside shot.
there's some depth of program
Yeah.
there, even if there isn't a singular
Yeah.
standout. The Vancouver Canadians have unveiled their promotional schedule for 2026, the historic 75th birthday of Nat Bailey, née Capilano Stadium. New this year, Nat Bailey Tuesdays, where they will highlight each of the eras of the Nat as part of the season-long festivities for the 75th anniversary. Its opening night magnet schedule, as per usual, on April 7th. There's a Nat Bailey Stadium miniature replica giveaway, couple of bobblehead nights, and they'll unveil whose bobbleheads in time here. 5 C's pennants giveaway nights spanning all the eras of C's championships in the Northwest League and beyond. And for the Little C's fans out there, kid-themed giveaways including a Chef Wasabi poncho, a mini C's jersey, a Bob Brown Bear building block set, and a Canadians pirate hat, leaning into the pirate packs for Nat Bailey. Specialty jerseys, April 11th, Filipino Celebration Day, and on May 16th, South Asian Heritage Day. And then their theme nights, Star Wars Day, First Responders Appreciation Day, Dog Day, we love the pooches at the park, Pride Night, Country Night, and a new Wasabi Takeover Day. Boy, that Chef Wasabi gets a lot of run there. Kevin Pillar will be there July 11th, the ex-Blue Jay, Superman in center field, you may remember. And Big Maple, James Paxton of Ladner, will be in attendance August 29th, plus there'll be 7 post-game fireworks evenings. Single game tickets go on sale Saturday. Season packs are available now, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. The Seattle Seahawks expected to anoint 49ers tight end coach Brian Fleury as their new offensive coordinator, per Adam Schefter sources. Fleury will replace Clint Kubiak, who, of course, is off to become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. 12's a little surprised by this. They thought it would be a hire from within, but Kubiak is taking quarterbacks coach Andrew Janocko as his offensive coordinator with the Raiders. Fleury coached George Kittle, of course, all-pro tight end with the 49ers. Kittle has posted he's sad about losing his position coach, and he is of the Kyle Shanahan tree with a background in analytics. See, there's the problem. You win a Super Bowl, people start coming for your staff, and I suspect they'll start coming for your players in free agency.
How much of a leash is the Super Bowl, though? Like, honestly, there's no sport where I like the furthest thing from my mind as a Seahawks fan is repeat. Like, you win a Super Bowl, and to me, it's like, I think they will be good next year because their defense is largely intact. But you win a Super Bowl, like, to me, that gives you a long run off.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
there's so many teams that don't have them.
Well, think of the discussions we were having about Pete Carroll, like, right? 5, 6, 7 years after the Super Bowl, we're like, okay, you're starting to leak a little oil here as a program, but it's Pete Carroll and he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. You win a Super Bowl, you get a long leash.
Yeah. Now, we'll see. There's a number of free agents in that defensive secondary, so we'll see who they bring back and how they rebuild that. You also wonder how much more juice can they squeeze out of some of the edge guys, Lawrence Nwosu. And then, of course, you do want to get better on that offensive line. Plus, Rashid Shaheed is a free agent, and Cooper Kupp's a little older. But, yeah, I mean, I think they'll be a very good ball club next year. Historic, or should I say herstory, night in the National Lacrosse League as Mackie Jenner becomes the first woman to call play-by-play. Mackie is the niece of our buddy Teddy Jenner, who also calls NLL games for TSN, called that Thunderbirds Bandits match on the weekend. So congratulations to Mackie. I know proud Uncle Teddy and the Jenner family. Very, very proud. Vancouver Warriors fall in overtime at Saskatchewan, 9-8 in a battle of first versus second place. That snaps the Warriors' 3-game win streak, drops them to 4th in the league standings. Rush have now won a club record 7 in a row. The Warriors host the defending league champion Buffalo Bandits at Rogers Arena on Friday. And the golf weekend is 2 stories of Asian Americans on the comeback trail. Anthony Kim, who left professional golf and battled drug addiction, won on the Live Tour. He gets back in the world top 250 for the first time in 14 years. He's 40 years old now, Blake. You'll remember when he was one of the young up-and-coming stars on the PGA Tour.
He was maybe going to challenge Tiger.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a Ryder Cup hero from that Paul Azinger-led U.S. team. He beat Jon Rahm, and he beat the rest of the Live field. And then Colin Morikawa wins for the first time in nearly 2.5 years at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. A funny post-round interview from, first of all, it was great to see Morikawa in a better place. Now, winning's going to do that for you, but he had battled with media last year, Blake, if you remember, lectured media. He just seemed to be a disagreeable, grumpy guy, and we all remember the happy, smiley young player who came out of the blocks, part of that group of 3 fantastic players with Hovland and Wolf, and he wound up being the most successful early with an Open Championship victory, a PGA Championship victory, nearly hold it, remember, on TPC Harding Park, the 17th, a par 4, nearly hold it. So he wins for the first time in 2.5 years. He and his wife announced that they are expecting. He also allows that he's put on 10 pounds of fat and he needed a drink after the round.
I like
So
where he's
there you
headed.
go.
I like where he's headed.
Hey, that's what, hey, way to be relatable, Colin.
It's also
That's how most of us play the game. I'm an additional 10 pounds this year, and boy, do I need a drink after the round.
18 straight top 10s for Scottie Scheffler.
Which is the longest ongoing streak since 1970, 56 years.
And Tiger Woods never even came close to this.
Nope. Is it Jack's record from 1970?
I don't
Check
have
that
that
out.
in front of me. Okay. Yeah. But again, we are going to be forced to start to make some uncomfortable comparisons. So shortly after Tiger Woods just seemed to be the best golfer that could ever be, it may not be the case here.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he's got a lot of majors to win here, Scotty. He's still a long way back there. But I think I found, Blake, the quote that synthesizes what you have been talking about with Scottie Scheffler for years. Mike, if we can bring this up, this is the director of content for Fried Egg Golf, Kevin Van Valkenburg, who writes, Scottie doesn't appeal to anyone who doesn't already like golf. This is what it is. He is making zero cultural impact, whereas Tiger was a Moses-esque figure. But the man's golf is sublime. It's an unusual juxtaposition. Scottie actually has more personality than Tiger, but no aura. Agree? Is that what you've been saying here for the last few years as we've watched the rise of Scheffler?
A lot of that is right. I would say, again, the biggest definition to me, or the biggest difference to me between the two is not merely the amazing shots, which Scottie puts forth.
Yep.
It's the frickin' stupid shots. Tiger Woods had frickin' stupid shots, and I don't see that from Scottie. Scottie's a machine. He's a robot. He is way more consistent than Tiger
Well,
Woods.
I think you just hit it, Blake. Let's remember, especially young Tiger, was not that accurate off the tee. He's spraying balls left and right. I can remember that Masters where he doesn't play the 17th fairway. He wants to play the adjacent fairway over there. So Tiger would put himself in more positions where he needed the miracle
and then
shot,
extricate himself from that with the miracle. So I think that's also part of the mystique is that, you know, people that didn't golf, per the tweet, people that didn't golf saw Tiger Woods in the pine straw, in the forest, and went, I guess that's a bad thing for a golfer, and then watched him put it to within 2 feet and go, wow, that guy's crazy.
Right. And I hear you. And of course, Mickelson had a little bit of this. Jordan Spieth, young Jordan Spieth had a little bit of this. But I would argue fairways and greens is the way to play the sport, right?
No, I'm just telling you why one guy gets more headlines than the other. One guy gets more love than the other. Because one guy seemed to walk on water.
Yeah.
And the other guy is just
consistent.
So damn good.
Yeah. Before we get into the results of the Yellow Dog poll question from Friday, let me remind you the 2026 Milan Games underway. The world's best men's and women's players battling for hockey gold. Daily Face-Off covering every game, every goal, every jaw-dropping moment, plus live reaction streams, full recaps of all the drama, including Thursday after the women's gold medal game, provided Canada makes it. And we're talking here as we record this, that game is ongoing, the semi against Switzerland. Who's going to rise to the top? Don't miss a second of the hockey from Milan on the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. Keep up with all the hockey action from the games on the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. Hit subscribe and be a part of every play. Results from the Yellow Dog poll question on Friday. We asked, is McDavid with McKinnon and Celebrini the best forward line you've ever laid eyes on? Yes or no? What did the people say?
I think they comfortably said yes.
They said yes, indeed. Percentage?
Ooh, that's where I wonder. I'll go 71.
77. Pretty good, Blake. Now, some of you were awfully angry that we would ask this.
Really?
Well, I saw a couple of them. Shut up, stop, how dare you?
Because?
Gretzky, Lemieux, and Howard-Chuck, which we explained on Friday, wasn't really a regular line at the 87 Canada Cup other than the final famous game-winning goal where Howard-Chuck wins the face-off. So there were a lot of people upset at the recency bias on this. The question was phrased to account for that you've laid eyes on. We understand some of you go back in the annals of Canadian international hockey history and can pick a better line, but others, of course, wouldn't have. And we've been 12 years without seeing these guys at the Olympics.
I hate to break it to everybody. A 35-year-old who's well on their way to being, like a human.
Grown.
A 35-year-old.
They have reached adult maturity.
Yeah. Was born in 1991.
Yeah, and did not see the 87 or 81
Did not.
Canada Cup. Seg says, stop it, Gretzky, Lemieux, and me on the wing is the greatest line in the history. Jeffrey says, okay, I'm really showing my age here with this one, but Gilbert Perreault with Guy Lafleur and Wayne Gretzky, amazing together during the 81 Canada Cup. Gretzky, Lafleur even said that was the best line he ever played on. Perreault was injured in that tournament. And here's the other thing about the 81 Canada Cup that we don't talk about a whole lot, because we got throttled in the final 8-1 by the Soviets. Poor Mike Liut in goal. So we sort of have erased that from Canadian international.
We don't talk about
We don't need
Bruno.
to talk
No.
about that one. And I love this one from Seamus, Blake. And he's pulling from a Russian World Junior team, so they weren't fully formed. But how about Fedorov with the two ex-Canucks wingers, Bure and McGillney, huh?
I mean, it's a great counterintuitive shout here, where we were only thinking of it in terms of
Senior international competition
and
NHL.
Canadian. Yeah, I mean, that's a great. Oh, I mean, KLM too.
Krutov, Makarov, Larionov.
Yeah,
A couple ex-Canucks on that one
it
as well.
didn't translate obviously to NHL resumes.
Well, they were a little later coming over.
yeah,
right?
but them in their prime. Whew.
Yeah. And I did not get an error or an omission from Friday's program. So, well, thank you for spending some time and connecting with the program. Appreciate that. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live at many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays, and we will be noon tomorrow on Tuesday. Stay tuned. We'll keep you abreast of our schedule for the rest of the week here. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.